Hey, what's up, and welcome back to my channel. So, I've spoken a lot about my narcissism, my NPD, on my channel, but I haven't really spoken yet about my depression, so I thought I would make this video. I mean, I'm sure a lot of the things that I've said have most likely overlapped with my experiences in terms of like depression. I mean, I know when I discuss like my identity issues, I'm always talking about feeling like nothing or not actually, being there. And I guess all the compensation that comes with wanting to feel superior in absence of, I guess, nothingness. But I guess I wanted to focus more so on the nothingness and make this video in terms of, yeah, how depression is in my mind or how I think it is. I'm just going to, share thoughts about that. So, I've also been diagnosed with major depressive disorder, not just NPD. I have other diagnoses as well, and maybe after this one I'll talk about my ADHD, but okay, I'm just focusing on the depression here. I have major depressive disorder, and yeah, I think that makes sense about me more or less because okay, immediately when I think of depression, I think of numbness, or I guess just like a lack of feeling. And I guess I could always just chalk it up to like my MBTI type. My high introverted thinking as an INTP makes me extremely detached. I do have demon FI, low, extremely low, terrible introverted feeling. So my own values are always, I guess, not real to me. Or even when I see other people's values, they don't really seem that real to me either. So I always have a pretty nihilistic point of view. But this isn't really an MBTI video, so I'm going to keep it short about that. I'm not going to say anything more about MBTI, but I guess, like, okay, I wanted to focus more so in, I guess, the numbness of depression, because I know when people hear depression, they might immediately think, oh, you're just like a super sad and like pessimistic kind of like person, blah, blah, blah. Which, yeah, I'm sure can always like overlap like negative feelings and whatnot. Like, I always think of it as okay, when you're extremely numb, it's closer to get to negative feelings rather than positive ones because I guess you kind of just notice how extra everything is in terms of like feeling so numb, and like the universe, the world, I don't know, with all these like things you have to do on a daily basis, they kind of just feel fake and artificial. And yeah, I guess that's why they say that if you have depression, you kind of find it difficult to find pleasure, like even in things that you once found pleasurable. Well, to be honest, I don't know if I've ever actually felt pleasure throughout my life because I think I've always just hated like consciousness. At least this is what I mean by that. I guess being aware, because I think everything that I've done for enjoyment, let's say um alcohol, games, like weed, let's say, they always provided like, a nice temporary sort of escape. But like, when like the high comes over and I'm like back to myself and I just see that like, okay, there's like nothing in me, there's no person, and it's all just, I don't know, empty. It's kind of just, I guess, irritating. I know with numbness there's a lot of like nothingness, but I guess, okay, I understand the anger, let's say, in terms of like the depression, because I think when you exist in the world and people have personalities, or people have this like idea of, let's say, themselves and like who you're supposed to be, and you're supposed to go like out and about and like find yourself. But I think, like, I don't know, when you're depressed, or at least I would put it, like, I don't know, like when I'm depressed, it's just like, it's just such a chore to like have to do. Like, I guess, like, if you're not depressed and you're, let's say, more of like a mentally healthy person, more or less, you just get up and you're, I don't know, I don't know if even like excitement is like the word to use, but I guess like you look forward to something, I suppose. Well, I don't know. I mean, I kind of just think that most people's lives in general are just like pretty bland because, like, oh, we're just average humans and most people don't really stand out for shit. So I guess, yeah, the numbness though is like what I want to focus on, because I think when I focus too much on the numbness, it, brings out, let's say, more negative feelings like anger and like frustration, because it just makes the world look so stupid and dumb. Because I've noticed for like quite some time just how like artificial life is, and I don't really understand how people are able to like gaslight themselves like so successfully. I mean, I've managed to gaslight myself successfully enough to, I guess, like, not kill myself, quote unquote. But I don't even understand how people say things like, "Oh, life is to be lived," like you're supposed to like seize the day, quote unquote. Like, I don't know. To me, it just seems like an extra like fleeting feeling, because I mean, I don't know, like, sure, like nothing matters, let's say. I know not everyone would like necessarily agree with that, like nihilistically, like I would, but like, I don't know, sometimes I get moments where I'm like, oh, nothing matters, so YOLO, you only live once, fuck it, let's party or something. I don't fucking know, like, let's just do some like insane hedonistic act and like have a good time. But then every high comes with like a come down, and I think constantly you just realize that, like, okay, life is fake and made up, and every single second is like reaching us to the point where, oh, we're just gonna die. And I think, oh yeah, maybe it's because of my depression as well, I don't know, but I am constantly thinking about death. I don't know if I'm necessarily like fascinated by it, or like I don't exactly know what my obsession with like death is supposed to be, but at least like it's the most concrete thing that I understand. And I don't know, maybe it comes from, a very like depressive sort of like mindset, but I mean, like, that's what I'm saying. It's like we can have fun, we can, I don't know, have like wonderful experiences just like piling up on our like plate or something, but it's like, did we really need it? Because I guess, like, for the end of times, the only thing that the universe dictated for human beings is that, okay, we're all just like dust, like when we're dead and we're rotting in the ground, we're just going to be like fucking flakes and dust down there, or we're just going to be like ashes or something. So I don't get how people can live every single day and just like not think that everything's a lie. Like, they hold their values as something like extremely like near and dear to them. And maybe at best I can pretend, because like certain masks are like fun to put on, like, oh, this is fun, we're blah blah blah, we're doing this, we're friends hanging out, we're, I don't know, we're like, oh, like these things like shape up our connection to like humanity. But I mean, just like, it's escape. Like for me to like simply put it, it's like everything's escape. Like, I don't really get the difference in terms of like, oh, don't waste your time just like drinking alcohol or like doing drugs. Like, get out there, make connections, make friends, or something, or like, like stand out to people. But I'm just like, why? I don't get it. It's just like, okay, we can do this, but we don't really, like, have to do it. And I think I just realized, much like everybody else, that like essentially I'm alive because I'm a slave to my survival instinct, or like we're all alive just because we're slaves to our survival instinct. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe as like a depressed person, quote unquote, like I'm the only one that can like admit it. I'm the only one that can see how shallow and just how like ridiculous everything actually is, because people always have this like made up narrative going on where it's like they have their destiny, like their dreams or something, like there's something about like, oh, you have the hero's journey because it's your life and you're going to like seize it or something. But I mean, just like, I don't know. It's all just like random, made up constructs. Like, there's nothing that confuses me about like death, for example, and like we're all gonna head there regardless of like what we do. So like, a lot of depressed people kill themselves, and like it makes so much sense to me in a way, because like I kind of just think about how like, oh, we're enslaved by this like survival instinct. So I think like I kind of always just imagine that like a suicidal person, or at least if I were to kill myself, I would always imagine it being like, like, I'm finally sick and tired of like all of the lies. Like, I'm just killing time. But see, like that's what it is though, killing time with like whatever you do. But it's like, if you were to like kill yourself, like you would just like get rid of the illusion like altogether. And like, I've made it obvious on my channel, I'm not a very like religious guy or anything like that. So it's like, I can just think that like, okay, there will be darkness and nothing there. Like, just no consciousness. If I can explain like darkness, total blackness is like a lack of like consciousness, but I mean just like like just nothing. Because I think I exist right here, right now, and I see so much emptiness. I see so much like hollowness, but the only thing that is consistent over anything is my running out of time, the fact that like I'm just gonna die. So like yes, I'm constantly thinking about like death every single day. And I know just how trapped people are in their illusion of life, because if you are to talk about like let's say death excessively, for example, that would be like such a bumming topic to a lot of people, or it would be an uncomfortable topic for a lot of people to just like head on with. Like I don't know, like I guess it would be different, for example, if you were like, oh, this important person died to me, and then people would be like sympathetic. But like I don't know, if you go around just being all like, oh, guys, we're just gonna die. Like every single second, we're just like passing closer and closer to like the point where we're just gonna be erased from existence and just like not be there whatsoever. And people are just gonna, I don't know, maybe like roll their eyes at you and be like, oh yeah, you're edgy. You love talking about death or like something or blah, blah, blah. But it's like, it's the true reality of like everything though. It's like, we were born out of an accident. Like nobody had a say. Like their parents just brought them out and about, but then like we're all gonna die. Like right here, right now, we can argue about like any and all of these artificial constructs that we as humans made up, fucking like politics, fucking religion, all this, all that. But it's like these are just made up things that we as humans need to cope. And we like delusionally think that like, okay, we're gonna recruit people to like this particular side of like, let's say religion, non-religion, uh Democrat, Republican, alt right, leftist, whatever, all these kind of things that the universe does not actually inherently care about, but we just project onto like other people, and all these like arbitrary made up rules and like all these like made up philosophies, which is why I ultimately think nihilism is the ultimate like made up philosophy. And philosophy is mental masturbation, even to a lot of people that do think that like they're doing something more serious, I would say. But I think, yeah, okay. But like philosophically, psychologically, I don't really see the difference, because I agree that on a philosophical level, yes, life is just like mental masturbation. What are you going to rationalize to yourself to constantly, like keep going? And what more do we learn about like psychology, basically? The only difference I see between philosophy and psychology is that I think psychology more so focuses on the cope, let's say, like the emotional version of a cope. Like you can rationalize your problems away, but I guess, I don't know, maybe from like a psychological standpoint, what are you going to emotionally do to make yourself like feel better? Because I think with philosophy, it makes it easy to like not care about things. But I think with like psychology, let's say, it makes it easy to gaslight yourself to be stronger than your problems, I guess, because I don't know, you go to like therapy or you try to learn about like mental health, and I feel like that's essentially like all it is. It's like cope and rationalization, essentially. Well, it's like, I don't know. I see a lot of overlap between psychology and philosophy, to be honest. So like at this point, I don't even know. But I think it's just more so like, how do I say this? Yeah, just I think just like everything is just like made up. Oh yeah, and maybe more so, speaking of like psychology, like you just gaslight yourself even better, because I guess more so psychologically, psychology focuses more on like your self-esteem, but I guess more philosophically it's like, oh, I'm too smart for those like dumbass problems, let's say. And then again, yeah, it's still all just coping up until like the point that like you die, to the point that like you die. So it's just like no matter what I do, I can temporarily escape, but then I'm just waiting for death. Like that's all anyone is doing, just like waiting for death. So it's like sure, you can talk about your life in terms of like stories, metaphors, archetypes, whatever, like all you want. But then ultimately, I think when you exist in this world, you're ultimately only given two options. You can either wait to die, or you can just grab the gun and put a bullet in your head and kill yourself and just, just end it all yourself. Like something will get you. So it's like ultimately it's like you learn, I guess, like having depression, that like nobody's actually worth it. And like you can't lie to yourself. So I guess even to exist, like being numb ultimately still helps you exist as well, because it's like you don't even have the energy anymore. You're so, let's say, lethargic or like whatever, or it's like, I can do stuff but I don't even necessarily feel accomplished. Like I've seen people say things like, oh, I took a shower today, or I brushed my teeth, when a lot of times with my depression I just want to like lay in bed and just, not even like get out, but like I'm proud of myself for like doing that. And it's like I do get a similar feeling when I make myself do something that I don't really want to do, because, I would arguably just like to, lay down and just do nothing whatsoever. But it's like, even I, so if you are depressed, let me tell you how, like, excuse me, tell me how you feel that like sense of accomplishment. Because if I've gone days without like not taking a shower for so long, or let's say not doing something that I'm supposed to do to like take care of myself, and I finally do end up doing it, I don't feel accomplished. I don't feel proud of myself. I'm just glad that I don't have this like chore like weighing like down on like the back of my head, the back of my neck, just like pushing down or something, so to speak. Because I think the only amount of peace that I get is not actually from doing things. It's just like not being able to like be aware. I think that's why I like hedonistic things, because drowning in pleasure, much like drowning in lies, because it's like it's the whole emphasis of life. And the only difference I see is that like a lot of people are delusional to the point where they don't necessarily have to use substances, but I think like we're all just lying to ourselves. So as long as we're not opening our consciousness up to like the highest of our capability, it's what you need to survive. Or numbness to the point where you can't even acknowledge your emotions and you kind of just work on like autopilot. It's like this is the curse of like human evolution, I guess. Just being able to think, I guess, more cognitively than like certain animals, because like at the end of it, we were all programmed to be more intelligent than like necessary. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are still like stupid humans, obviously, but it's like as far as like evolution went, our like higher cognition is what allowed this existential crisis. And I think having depression, you know, it yeah, it lets you tap into that like existential sort of like crisis. So it is true when they say that ignorance is bliss. So we have all this awareness but nothing to put it to. Just, I guess, a higher awareness towards why we have problems. Like for animals, it's straightforward. They throw hands and like that's it. We throw hands, but then again, we have to dissect it. We need social commentary. We need blah blah blah. Like it's just, I don't know, like so dumb. Like I'm saying we have a higher capability to think, but it's like we're no better than animals. So like arguably, if the universe did have like any mercy on us, if nature did have any mercy on us, we should have been put on a more like idiotic level, like a lot of other animals. Because I don't know, like think of an animal that doesn't need to ask the question, what is the meaning of life? What is my purpose in life? Blah blah blah. Like no, they just act out of their own like code and like biology. And we do the same thing, except our minds are the things that allow us to project, or I don't know, seek something better when there isn't anything more than this biological like software and like code. So like our mental gymnastics as human beings are like, essentially our own downfall. So I guess, yeah, ultimately, I mean, I'll just end it there, I guess, and I'll say that, like ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is bliss.